that's a joke to me, right? And he's already not happy with it. And then the next degree is, why would I even entertain that? It occurs to him like, wait, what are you asking me? And then finally, he's like, not only today, he's done addressing it. It was in by degrees that he got there. Like, what are you asking me? The head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's won a Super Bowl and under no circumstances, including losing his quarterback, has ever been under 500.
Yeah, can I say something very quick? And then I would say I would love to hear Neek and Keys' POVs on this. But it's hard for a black football coach to land jobs. It's even harder for them to keep them. And I feel like you heard a lot of that in Mike Tomlin's voice. You heard that. Like, oh, now you guys are trying to put me on a different collegiate job when I'm up here doing what I need to do for the Steelers. That's what I heard in his voice.
Yeah, it sounded like when he started naming other coaches, that's what he was saying. It's like, I'm a Super Bowl champion. They're Super Bowl champions. We don't just go around talking like when former Super Bowl winning coaches, if they do lose their job, you're talking about them for other NFL jobs. And he's not even like someone who we'd be considered as losing his job. Like, that's just not something that happens, and to ask him about it feels ridiculous. But I agree with him on everything until he said there's not a big enough blank check in the world.
I think,
a blank one?
Did I mention it was Harvard Business School?
I don't think college boosters is going to write the type of check that it would take to get a Mike Tomlin. It's a budget at some point. I'm sure you guys are sitting at the edge of your seat waiting to hear what I have to say because it's my alma mater.
Yes, we are.
I mean, he doesn't want the job. I don't think we were going to offer him the job, and I don't think we are pursuing him. So I get what Mike Tomlin is saying. When you look at it on the surface, he's a professional coach. This is what he's been doing. He hadn't coached in college since I think he was at Cincinnati back in like 97 or something like that. It was a long time ago. If he became available, he wouldn't even need, it would be like, who's sending the jet? They couldn't book the runways fast enough. So it wouldn't, it's just
I'll give you every coach in New York from all the teams. Yeah. You can have Thibodeau and Nash and Boone and Saleh, and I'll give you Joe Judge. I'll give you every coach from every sport in New York for Mike Tomlin.
I could understand why Carson Palmer would mention his name in a situation like this because he's a fun guy. He's young enough. So I could see where he would mention a name. I could see that. Because he's fun. Yeah. He's fun. And it all started because of Carson. If Carson doesn't mention his name, nobody's even having that conversation because he's not going anywhere.
But I think that's what his point is. It's about the perception. It's like they'd love to have Bill Belichick. You're never going to say that name. Like, they'd love to have Andy Reid, but no one's ever going to say that name because it's the perception of Mike Tomlin, I think, is at least this is the thing that he's presenting, and he doesn't say it explicitly, is like no one mentions Sean Payton for college jobs, and Sean Payton hasn't been as successful as Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is like maybe Harbaugh is the only other guy who is like in his class. Belichick's a class above everybody else. No one talks about NFL coaches with that much success saying, in a season that's going okay, why don't you go back to college?
Well, let me try to play doctor to a degree about why Carson Palmer would, and this is only me thinking, I don't have knowledge. I'm just thinking. Troy Polamalu played for Mike Tomlin and played with Carson Palmer. There's a connection to Pittsburgh. Juju's there. SC is a connection. So I'm sure Carson has had conversations with them like, oh, man, what you think about Mike Tomlin? You think he would ever come to college? Yeah. And that conversation came up because he's the only person that even mentioned Mike Tomlin going to college. Nobody else mentioned it.
You're a good alum because you're looking out for your man. That's real nice of you because every other coach in the league, SC is a pretty good football program. There's SC guys on a lot of other teams in the league.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the marquee franchises in worldwide sports, the most storied, among the most winning. And I'll say this about when he said, no one's mentioning this guy or that guy, who are white head coaches, right, with championships. They're whether or not they even do.
I'm not looking at it like that, though.
But I think undeniably it's present.
I'm not looking at it black and white, and if he was a black coach versus a white. I'm not even looking at it like that because I don't believe, and this is where the good alum does come into play. I don't believe that Carson Palmer mentioned
he might not.
He thinks that Mike Tomlin is on the hot seat.
I don't
No,
think.
wait a minute, let me finish.
that doesn't mean that Mike Tomlin
So-
doesn't think that
Right,
internally.
Exactly. I think there is a sensitivity. Like, for example, even if someone would have said about a white athletic quarterback in college, maybe he should play receiver. Oh, see, I saw, but there's not the same history of an attempt to make white quarterbacks play receiver.
Yeah, but
right?
I don't even
For
think,
the longest,
I don't even think Mike Tomlin was thinking of it as
Maybe he
white
wasn't.
coaches. They don't ask. Well, I don't think he was thinking of it like
Well-
that. He was thinking of it successful coaches that are in the NFL. That's
But,
he
but
wasn't
why are they
thinking of it
asking?
like that.
Why are they using his name
Yeah, I
and
mean,
not
that's-
pointing
so
to the
it's-
other name?
Carson Palmer
Right,
used
so-
his name.
No.
And my argument would be in that case, and there's plenty of issues of race that we could talk about that are more overt than this one. So we don't have,
Of course, with you on the show.
So, I mean, we don't have to use this one as one to talk about, but I felt like that's what Mike Tomlin was pointing us because it feels to me like maybe it's not conscious, but there's something unconscious that's happening when you look at this guy that you feel differently about him than you do other guys. So, like,
1000%.
I'm not saying that Carson Palmer or anybody who would mention him, I know Ryan Clark said it too. Ryan Clark said he would pay anything to get Tomlin to come to LSU, but I just feel like there's something about the way that he is viewed is not commiserate with the things that he's accomplished.
And that overall may be true.
Right.
Because people have said things in the past that are on shows about his style in which he coached and all those sort of things. I'm talking about this one instance
Right.
with Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying.
I can't climb
And
in
I
the-
don't think that Mike Tomlin, Neek, was referring to it as I'm black. They won't ask the white coaches this because,
right.
to be honest with you, they do ask white coaches that when their names come up.
I think it's
But they
accumulation
not-
of all that stuff. It's
But
all
their
that stuff
names don't
combined
come
together.
up. If you have the success that Mike Tomlin has, nobody is talking about you going to college. And I don't need Mike Tomlin's permission to go ahead.
Here's what I'm gonna say though, Neek. I don't want to say you wrong about that. You are right, but there's a lot of instances. I can go all the way back to when John Gruden was coaching in Tampa and he won the Super Bowl. Every single year, his name came up for the Tennessee job. Tennessee, and he was an NFL coach that had just won a Super Bowl. So it is.
It's not right, but that my point is, it could happen the other way. Just like maybe a white quarterback, they might say, "Hey, maybe you should play receiver." I was just watching I was at the screening last night of the
Still
Colin
waiting for
Kaepernick.
some white corners, man. You can't tell me none of these slot receivers can't play corner in the league. Like all these slot receivers.
Last
sitting
great
at home.
one, Jason Sehorn. But listen. I was at the Colin Kaepernick
You said
screening
that. I
last
did.
night for his
With
new
that
show
scene.
on Netflix, and it gets into, of course, his youth and what do you think they asked him to do at a certain point when he was in high school? Even though according to the series, it's a dramatic series. He was clearly the better choice at quarterback. Maybe you can move positions. So there will be a sensitivity to that is different. It is listen, the expression is hustling backwards if you are already one of the most successful coaches in the history of American team sports. For one of the most successful franchises, you're 3-3 this year, and you have no business being 3-3, and they're asking you about college. Yeah. He did the slow burn on that one by degree. He's like, wait a minute, they're asking me this? What? Why would you ask me this? I'm not addressing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think your point, like Key brought up John Gruden. I don't remember that, but it sounds like it's possible, and you might be right. Yeah. But maybe I'm hypersensitive. But I mean,
yes, you are, sir.
I'm a black dude in America. I'm sorry.
We're asking at Key J and Max.
Oh, no.
If Mike Tomlin becomes available, would you want your team to fire your coach to hire him? 888-729-3776. Be a part of KJM on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed or call-in line 888-SAY-ESPN, presented by Dr. Pepper. Much more on KJM next, ESPN Radio.